All right, welcome back everyone to Vuln Vibes, and I'm excited for another WP Safe Block today.
Absolutely, yeah.
Our listeners, they're the kind of folks who, they dream in mitery ATT and CK, right? They eat kill chains for breakfast.
Yeah, they know their stuff.
Exactly. So we're gonna, skip Vulnerability 101 today.
Right to the good stuff.
We're diving right into the deep end. We've got a whole stack of WordPress vulnerabilities, and the trends we're seeing, I gotta tell you, they're kind of alarming, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely
I
concerning.
mean, we're talking privilege escalation, we're talking file deletion with like the bare minimum access
Oh, yeah. It's scary how little access some of these need.
and authentication bypasses
Yeah.
that, they really make you want to rethink your whole security setup.
Absolutely. It's a whole new ballgame.
So, and we're not just going to list off vulnerabilities, we're going deeper.
Yeah, we want to look for patterns.
What are the trends? What are the weaknesses that keep popping up that these attackers are, targeting?
Exactly. And, looking at these trends, it really changes how we think about WordPress security.
For sure, for sure. Okay, so let's jump right in. One thing that really jumps out at me, going through these vulnerabilities is how many of them exploit features that are just like normal plugin features.
Right, the stuff developers use every day.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff that, you'd expect to see.
Makes sense, right.
So, like, for example, we were looking at the Bricks theme vulnerability. It takes advantage of AJX functions and user roles.
Yeah, and that's not even a one-off thing, It's not unique.
No, no.
I mean, look at that car dealer theme issue. It all comes down to exploiting file upload and management.
Which, again, those are pretty basic functions.
The bread and butter of so many WordPress sites.
Exactly right. It's
Yeah.
not like some super obscure, functionality.
And that's what's worrying. Developers, they're always under pressure, got to build things fast.
Ship it, ship it, ship it, right?
Exactly. So security, it kind of takes a backseat sometimes. Not intentionally, of course.
Right. Yeah, not that anyone's trying to, create vulnerabilities.
But maybe they're just not aware of the risks. Or, like you said, they just don't have the time to think about it deeply.
Right. Yeah, so it's this weird balance. I mean, they need to get the functionality out there,
Yeah.
but they also got to, really bake security in from the start.
Yeah, it can't be an afterthought. It's got to be part of the whole process.
So I guess for our listeners, the big takeaway here is, be super careful about plugins, especially if they promise a lot of features and power. Don't just go by the marketing hype.
Exactly. Got to look under the hood, do your research, understand how that stuff actually works.
Exactly. Okay, so moving on, another trend that really, set off some alarm bells is just how easy it is to exploit some of these vulnerabilities.
Oh, yeah, the low barrier to entry. It's scary.
We're talking about needing the bare minimum user access to, like, trigger some serious damage.
It doesn't take much at all. And that car dealer theme vulnerability, a subscriber, that's all it takes.
Wait, seriously? Just a subscriber can delete important files?
Yep. Lowest permission level in WordPress, and they can wreak havoc.
I thought the whole point of granular permissions was to, prevent that kind of thing.
You'd think so, right? But it's just to show even low-level users, they can be a threat if there's a vulnerability.
Yeah, okay, so that's kind of a wake-up call, right?
Big time. And think about sites with lots of different user roles, like authors, editors, contributors.
Yeah, suddenly managing permissions becomes a whole security nightmare.
Oh, absolutely. So the key takeaway here is securing your site, it's got to be a layered approach.
Like defense in depth, right?
Exactly. You can't rely on user roles alone. Got to keep those plugins updated, audit them regularly.
And think about extra security measures to minimize the damage if someone does get in.
Yeah, assume the worst.
Okay, so it's not just about locking down admin access. It's about being cautious across the board.
Be paranoid, basically.
Yeah. A little healthy paranoia never hurt anyone. All right, so let's talk about plugin dependencies. We found this vulnerability in the Templates Elementor Helper plugin, which, on its own, not a huge deal.
But there's a catch, right?
There's a catch. It only becomes a real problem when you have BuddyPress installed as well.
So you might think, okay, it's just an event management plugin. What's the worst that could happen?
Right.
But if you've got BuddyPress running that community forum, suddenly an attacker can mess with user profiles.
Feels sensitive information.
All because of a seemingly harmless vulnerability in that event plugin.
Yeah, and the thing is, plugin dependencies are everywhere in WordPress.
It's like a spider web.
You install one plugin, and it drags in 3 more with it.
It's almost impossible to keep track.
So how are you supposed to know about all the potential interactions and security risks?
Well, that's why you need a comprehensive security audit. Don't just look at each plugin on its own.
You got to see the whole ecosystem.
Understand how they all fit together, how they talk to each other.
Exactly. So listeners, take note. Those dependency chains, they can be hiding some serious dangers.
Vet your plugins carefully and look for tools that can map out those dependencies and flag any red flags.
Good advice.
Huh.
All right, last trend we want to talk about, and this one really highlights how things outside your WordPress site can affect your security.
Oh yeah, expanding the attack surface.
We were looking at this plugin, Login Me, now, and it relies on transient data from other software.
So basically, it's trusting information from outside its own little bubble.
And that created a vulnerability that could be exploited for authentication bypass.
So it's not just about the plugin itself, it's about how it interacts with the rest of the world.
Yeah, and as everything gets more and more connected, that creates a whole new level of complexity when it comes to security.
There's a bigger picture now.
So when you're thinking about security, you got to think beyond just the individual pieces of your website. Think about the dependencies, the integrations, third-party services.
It's all part of the ecosystem.
Okay, so to wrap things up, today's deep dive wasn't about giving you a list of fixes.
It's about seeing the bigger picture.
Understanding the trends that are shaping the threat landscape for WordPress.
We got to move from just reacting to threats to proactively managing risks.
Yeah, if you understand these trends, you can build a much more secure WordPress site.
And that's what we're all about.
Absolutely. So hopefully this deep dive has given you some things to think about as you work on your own security practices.
Remember, this stuff is always changing.
The threat landscape never sleeps.
Stay vigilant, stay informed, stay ahead of the game.
That's the key. Thanks for tuning in to Vuln Vibes, everyone, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
See you next time.
Take care.
Bye.